Hello, this is Cynthia Sue Larson with RealityShifters.com, and I'm right now in Boulder, Colorado at a place called Settlers Park or People's Crossing. And it's interesting that it's talking about both these crossing points, because that's what this place was known for originally, because it was a crossing point between the plains and the mountains in Colorado. And of course that's important when the seasons change. Then it took the name Settlers Park in the 1800s when settlers came to the area. But what I find relevant right now for me personally is that sometimes we feel unsettled. And this unsettled feeling can be quite a surprise when it happens. But it could be a sign that we're receiving information, possibly from a higher level of ourselves or of conscious agency that we have access to. And what does that mean? Well, for example, something that started happening to me in June 2023 was I was occasionally, when I was alone in the house, hearing what sounded like a thump or a thud on the eastern side of the house. When I'd tune in my high sense perception to notice what does that mean, I got the feeling that it was really, even though it didn't quite sound like it, but it did on that high sense perception level, it sounded like the house rang like a bell. And it happened to me several times to the point that I couldn't ignore it anymore. It was something strange, different. And when I went to look up to see who else has noticed this, is there anything about a structure, a building, or a house ringing like a bell? The only thing I could find, and this only happened once because when I looked again I couldn't find it again. There was, at one point, there was something in the Bible about a building ringing like a bell as an indication for people to wake up, pay attention, and just rise up into the fullness of their being. This is exactly how I took this message for myself, and it was relevant and very significant for me personally because I had sidelined a project, which is my book about the Mandela Effect, due to dealing with sort of a chronic illness situation that cleared up, fortunately. Well, I'm still healing from it, but the worst of it is over. And that had to do with, spike protein, basically an experience that I guess I got an exposure in January 2020. And after that, it took me a while to recover. And then, of course, it was taking me a while to heal further from some of the damage that had occurred. But what I want to bring up now is this message to wake up, this message to pay attention, reminds me of what we can learn from plants and animals and rocks and the earth around us. There are levels of information accessible to us that are much deeper than what's on the surface. We human beings tend to be limited, almost as if we're kind of little clay beings made of mud or something, and all of our faculties haven't yet come online. And I don't mean that we're electronic beings, but I mean that we are developmental beings, and each time we go through a crisis on the planet, whether there's been a great flood or perhaps at one point the Earth may have been hit by an asteroid or something like that. Obviously there have been indications that things have changed. The equator of the planet is different. Right now we're seeing a tilting of the north and south poles on the planet. We are seeing a reduction of some of the Earth's magnetic field, protective field, and so we can feel some of those influences, and we need to access more of who we really are at a deep level. So this message that I got of the house ringing like a bell, I also looked up to see what else has rung like a bell that you don't expect to ring like a bell. And back, I think 1969, Apollo 12 observed that the moon rang like a bell for about an hour, and scientists were surprised to see that. And you might think, well, that's strange. Yes, it is. In 2000, I think it was 18, November 11th, 2018, there was the Earth was ringing like a bell, and nobody quite could figure out why, because as far as anyone knew, there was no volcanic thing that went off. There was no trace on the surface of the planet of anything. So it may have been something somewhere inside the Earth. But anyway, these things do happen, but getting back to my point about the signals and signs, if you receive something repeating like I did, if you're alone in the house and it starts ringing like a bell, you hear a dull thud, and you wonder, what was that supposed to mean? And you recognize that's a wake-up call. That's pay attention, get back on track, do the things you're here to do. And that's exactly how I took it. But it's interesting to get these messages and sometimes be reminded that when you're unsettled, there could be something of great significance and great value that can be helping all of us, receive a message or a sign. And I think these rocks, these red rocks here in Boulder, Colorado, are a kind of sign too. A sign that keep going, you're almost there. Whether you're going from the Great Plains to the mountains or coming down from the mountains to the Great Plains, you're almost there. And it's a sign, it's a signal. So that's what is captivating my attention today. And I hope that you keep asking my favorite question every chance you get, because that can help to interpret these signs, these signals, and help to restore a sense of connection to the internal divinity that we each actually are comprised of. That's our essential core nature. So until next time, this is Cynthia Sue Larson, inviting you to keep asking and remembering to keep asking that question, how good can it get? And I'm with realityshifters.com. Thanks so much.